have the actual discussion. So if your understanding of the question is, has far-left progressive politics made our societies worse? I completely agree with your definition, and I agree with the premise of the question that it has made things worse for a number of reasons. I mean, the trans thing became a big talking point because it's so ridiculous, not because it's so hugely actually impactful on society, although I do think a small number of children being given puberty blockers and an even smaller number of children being given gender transition surgery is a terrible thing that's happened. I think more broadly, though, I mean, one of the most obvious examples is we now have a society which has, I mean, it's not codified and it's not expressed in, you know, in the, like, no one says publicly we now discriminate against these groups of people, unless occasionally they do. So, for example, the Royal Air Force in this country, when they were in a recruiting drive, they were really struggling to get pilots. And there was a woman there who got fired from the Royal Air Force because she refused to go along with the policy. Her supervisor said to her, "We're not hiring any more useless straight white men." She said, "I don't agree with this policy, it's discriminatory," and she was fired. We've had a system of anti-male, anti-white.
Can I just ask a quick question?
No,
so if I were to look
I'm not
that up,
finished
the
yet.
Royal Air Force had a policy of not hiring straight white men.
I'm not finished yet.
Is that true?
I'm not finished yet.
Okay. I have a feeling it's not, but okay.
So you can. This is something you can look up. It was covered extensively in the news in this country. Probably wasn't covered that well on Wikipedia where you did the research, but
no. But on the Sun and all of your favorite publications, I'm sure they talked about it a lot.
No, actually, it was covered extensively across the mainstream
media. And what they covered was that the Royal Air Force was not hiring straight white men. Well, you seem to respond to some things, but not others. Well, so that wasn't the policy. I can tell because you're not answering that.
That was the policy that was pursued by the Royal Air Force. It was revealed by this whistleblower who was fired for revealing it. The BBC in this country has internships that are not available to white people. We effectively have created a system of passive, tacit, sometimes open discrimination against different groups of people. And one of the reasons that the sort of reactionary sentiment, which you try and paint me as representing, which I don't, is rising in this country and rising quite quickly, including ethno-nationalist sentiment, is because of this. And the reason I opposed wokeness from the very beginning and far-left progressivism from the very beginning was that it was obvious to me that the number one consequence of pursuing radical left-wing progressivism and racial essentialism of this kind would be that the majority population would begin to pursue identity politics for itself. If you discriminate against white men and say so openly, it's going to be a very short period of time before white men look at that and say, well, if we're now picking people for jobs based on skin color, I am the oppressed minority now, or I'm the oppressed majority now, we need to look after my interests. And the reason you see the reactionary forces rising, both in America, in the rest of Europe, and in this country, is precisely because they've been pushed into this corner by woke leftists. And that is one of the major ways that this movement has damaged our society, as I predicted all along.
So, I would say the least impressive thing about conservative predictions is that typically what they'll do is they will build their own enemies, they will cry about the enemies, and then when they manage to convince everybody else that those enemies are real, and then those people react against those enemies, they try to say that, well, it was the enemies in the beginning that caused this particular problem to come about. And I guess the issue that I have is, when it comes to woke-related stuff, it's hard to find ever, like, what are the particular DEI policies or affirmative action policies that we're talking about. It's always some vague allusion to airlines don't want to hire white pilots, or they lower their standards for black pilots, or these things that tend to not exist when you actually dig into them. Now, I don't know, maybe it is the case that the Royal Air Force actually had a policy of not hiring straight white men. It did,
yeah.
Okay, I'll look into that. I'm curious about that. I have a feeling when I look into it, it's going to be completely untrue, like most of the stuff that you bring it up. But I'll look into it. Maybe it was true. And, you know, if it is, I would say that's not a good thing, that you shouldn't be doing stuff like that. Okay. But I guess the issue I have is, when we talk about magnitude, I think you said earlier that sometimes people fixate on these issues a little bit too much, but it's because they're such common sense issues. When I look at the United States right now, and I think how many trans people are there, how many people are doing stuff related to trans people, the number of people is incredibly small. It's like 1%. And the idea that that would somehow cause so much of a population to become reactionary that, as of 30 minutes ago, I'm pretty sure Iran has tried to bomb like 7 different countries because we have a president who is a madman who is going on a rampage against the entire world insofar as trade and bombs goes. I just can't, in my mind, rationalize how so many of these smart people I'll say in the center like you who say, well, I can obviously identify that this is a problem. Why don't you ever identify any of these super obvious problems on the right, or any of the super obvious problems that are reactionary to the other things that were reactionary, especially when the issues in the United States on the right are represented through every single pylon of power that the conservatives have, and on the left they're in colleges and on Twitter and Facebook and sometimes in AI world on Sora.
This is an article from Sky News. Could you just read out what it says, please?
So I see the AI summary here is applicants...
Read out the headline.
Well, I don't know if this is a headline or if this is a...
Read out the headline.
Okay, so it says, applicants seeking to join RAF described as useless white male pilots in bid to hit impossible diversity targets. Just to be clear, just so I can understand.
Thank you.
Is this headline the same as no straight white men were hired? Or
No.
they had a policy of not hiring straight white men? Wait. I'm just so curious. Do you understand the difference between somebody not being hired because they're white? Because I'm not going to sit here. If you're going to ask me, like, do you think there were ever racist people or even against white people? Of course there are. But you understand there's a difference between the entire Air Force having a policy of not hiring straight white men versus, I guess there was an email where some straight white candidates were skipped over. I don't even know if it was because they didn't meet qualifications or not. They used white men to describe them, but they also called them useless. I don't know if it was because they were white or not. You know there's a difference between those two things, right?
So you don't know this story?
Do you know there's a difference between those two things or no?
Yes, I do. Now
Okay,
be
thank you.
quiet.
Okay,
Now-
gotcha. Because I was asking for evidence of mine, but you gave me that. So like I said initially, I had a feeling if I looked this up, it wasn't going to be
you ever gonna
what
let
you
me
presented
talk?
it as. Yeah, no, go for it.
Okay. So you just denied the existence of this and you questioned it.
I did not deny the
Stop
existence
talking.
of that, but go
Stop
ahead.
talking.
You seem to have a
Stop
lot of
talking.
trouble following what I'm saying.
Stop
but that's
talking.
Okay. Okay.
So you just denied the existence of this and you questioned it.
I did not deny the
Stop
existence
talking.
of that, but go
Stop
ahead.
talking. Finished
Is
yet?
that true?
I'm not finished yet.
Okay. I have a feeling it's not, but okay.
So you can this.
No, but on The Sun and all of your
but
favorite
it was-
publications,
it
I'm
was-
sure they talked about it a lot.
No, actually, it was covered extensively across the
And
mainstream
that what they
media.
covered was that the Royal Air Force was
Can I
not
finish
hiring
my
straight
points,
white men.
Stephen?
Well, you seem to
Stephen,
respond to some things, but
just
not others.
well-
so that wasn't the policy. I can tell because you're not answering
That-
that. but that's
that was the po-
The issue that I have is when it comes to woke-related stuff, it's hard to find ever, like, what are the particular DEI policies or affirmative action policies that we're talking about. It's always some vague allusion to airlines don't want to hire white pilots, or they lower their standards for black pilots, or these things that tend to not exist when you actually dig into them. Now, I don't know, maybe it is the case that the Royal Air Force actually had a policy of not hiring straight
It
white
did,
men.
yeah.
Okay, I'll look into that. I'm curious about that. I have a feeling when I look into it, it's going to be completely untrue, like most of the stuff that you bring it up. But I'll look into it. Maybe it was true. You know.
So you just denied the existence of this and you questioned it.
I did not deny the
Stop
existence
talking.
of that. But go
Stop
ahead.
talking.